Good evening, everyone, and we have yet another cast of SMC 2023. I'll be your humble host, Wrestler, and we'll have two titans that are going to play each other. Is going to be Rob versus Opiwrites, and to help break it down, I have Slappy Davis and Martini. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello, hello. Really excited for this match.
Yeah, it's going to shape up to be a good one, I think. We've seen these two play a lot, and they're usually pretty close.
Yeah, and I think in the past, it's often been the case that one of them will start getting like a break against the other one, where they play each other so much, but there's this sort of like micro tendencies that especially Opie will develop over time, and then it's whether or not it matches up well in that moment. Because I think we have some recent results that have happened between the two of them. But I think that okay, so I'm looking at the chart here. So these are both players that started in the group stage. So they were what would we call these direct invites? The people that got directly into groups.
To
Yeah,
answer,
they're kind of like. Oh, go ahead, Wrestler.
I was gonna say that the OP directly qualified for last year's SMC being a finalist, and Rob just qualified for SMC points into the second seed. That's
Right, right. So basically, the runner-up from last year's tournament versus what was honestly expected to be last year's champion partway through, but then and really like just like every match that Rob had in last year's SMC was incredible. Like I can't think of any of them that weren't worth watching. So I'm definitely expecting that he's going to be very consistent. Oh, and here we have his profile up here. So. Uh, Honestly, what's funny about these results is that for any one of these results that we're seeing on the screen, they might have even been considered like underplacing, even though we see third place, second place, third place, first place, second place, really, really good results. But I think that he was probably the favorite in the beginning of the tournament for each one of those.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, seemingly every tournament he enters, he just puts on dominant performance after performance, and the fact that he's only won one of these tournaments is a little surprising now that we look at it.
Yeah, which lends itself to just being a consideration about whether or not in the run up to a grand championship, he seems to be really dominant. And then I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's really the case that he's fallen apart in any of these finals. Rather that the opponents put a ton of work into prepping versus him when they have the extra space for this kind of prep work. Now, given that SMC is such a significant tournament, the level of prep that players are going to put into the specific opponents is going to be really high for a tournament like this. So we'll see if that's true or not. I know that Opie has opined several times in threads that he thinks that he can find out attributes of Rob's spy in particular. He just doesn't know how to beat a sniper, and that is going to be the big story for Rob. Of course, is that his sniper is so dominant.
For sure, he's going to have a target on his back throughout the whole tournament. And on the other side, we have Opiwrites, who doesn't have as many high podium finishes, but in some tournaments, specifically SMC last year, he finished in second place. And he also did quite well in the Grandmaster division of SML this year, despite many people not predicting him to be finish in the top three. I think he had a bit of a lull for a while in terms of results. I think in Winter Cup he was eliminated in the first round, but he has made a bit of a comeback in recent tournaments.
Yeah, and that definitely comes down to a lot of basically staying in shape for Opie. Opie goes in and out of being in SpyParty shape pretty consistently. Like the traditional like long form history that Opie has was that Opie had an incredible streak of second place finishes in the Premier Cups and finals that he was a part of, and then that finally was snapped in one of the best sets. I think we can safely say versus Urandon. I don't remember what year that was. It would have been Winter Cup like 2021 maybe. But he's just been a consistent high level finisher for a long time. And then, like you're saying, he dropped down for a little bit because he wasn't staying in SpyParty shape. And one of the ways that is the most like relevant for Opie is that when he's in shape, he makes obviously smart decisions, but his action tests are top notch. So he relies on getting green tests often and can find his way through a game where he's got that support of excellent action tests. Which I actually don't know off the top of my head if Rav is considered a good action test. I'm gonna guess he's an average action test finisher, but I don't actually know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers either, but I think at this level, most people can hit above average relative to other players. But Opiwrites for sure is at the top of the top.
Yeah, and when you get that consistent at it, you get to plan around it too, which that's the part that I really respect is you can kind of just it's not even just like, yo, if I don't hit this green purloin, I'm dead, but rather with that in mind, the fact that I can do this reject and think about it, like it just lets you almost like feel more certain about what the path of your game is, rather than like, oh, I can't think about after that action test because I have to see what the result is first. But regardless, let's go into the bands here, and I think that I'm gonna guess this is one of Rob's most popular bands. So there's a few different things about Balcony, of course. Balcony is a popular pick versus dominant players. That is just fundamentally a true thing. It is maybe the most like egregiously obvious pick that someone might pick versus someone that they feel has a better chance because it is a bit more chaotic. So I think that Rob either just doesn't like Balcony or has just gotten used to having Balcony picked versus him and just opens up with that ban. In a different strain, Opie is also not. I can't even say infamous or famous for this. This is just something that people like during him. People just really like shark walking versus Opie. I just bring people just like their shark walking game goes way up versus Opie. It doesn't make any sense, but people just get really good at it, and it's been a source of frustration for Opie. So Opie just dropping that out of the mix entirely.
Yeah, Balcony is the great equalizer for sure, and I think Rov does enjoy his shark shenanigans from time to time. So a smart ban from OP for sure. Um, in the restricts, high rise and veranda. You have any thoughts on these?
Just kind of veranda has fallen out of favor, and I completely just agree with this. I think the map is in a boring spot. Like now the interesting thing about veranda, of course, is that sometimes people don't actually bother to restrict or ban veranda because they just don't expect it to get picked because it's kind of seen as this split map. That said, Rav might like veranda. It just seems like Opie wants no part of it and just doesn't mind the other maps as much. So I can't read the veranda one as much as Opie just might not want veranda versus a read on whether or not Rob is really gonna pick veranda. As far as the high rise, what high rise are we rolling with in this tournament? Is it any 3 of 6 high rise? I'm assuming.
Indeed, it is any 3 of 6. Here are the layouts, just so we're clear.
Yeah. So okay, perfect. Okay, so with high rise, it's any 3 of 6. Oh, and I'm assuming the asterisk is either microfilm or swap on. Um, it's kind of like bigger balcony, and it's less able to be controlled as terrace because I would think that someone that bans balcony often would probably ban depending on what their feelings about balcony are. If their feelings are spy sidedness, um, uh, high rise over terrace, but then they might worry about redwoods. But if they have enough experience on redwoods, they won't worry about redwoods because redwoods really isn't truly all that chaotic in my mind if you have a grip on it. But anyways, he opts not to do that. That's my only thought on that one. Is it's kind of like balcony in several different respects. As there is just stuff that comes up if you feel like you're on top of your camping. There will just be sometimes you'll just have to shoot somebody that did all the missions. You just have to suss out based on suspicion alone whether or not they do that. So it's actually kind of the opposite of the veranda restrict. And then speaking of redwoods as being something that is similar but not like balcony, is redwoods indeed comes up, which I'm gonna just guess is the most. Um, I don't think it's probably spy favored, but it's probably has the highest spy win rate out of the maps. Out of the maps we're actually going to see here. So lots of opportunities here. It is still a map with just so many directions you could go. And it's interesting that Rav picks it because on paper alone, you would think that the player that feels really, really secure in their sniper would actually drift away from redwoods because sometimes just stuff happens on redwoods and you can crack the sniper on it. Picking into it, I think either demonstrates a real security in the map or feeling like Opie doesn't like it. I don't know if you have any insight on that, Martini.
I think Opiwrites actually does like redwoods. But that being said, there is enough film on Opie on redwoods, so maybe Raw feels confident that he knows the types of plays that Opie likes on there, and maybe he can get a spy win of his own. And then the rest of the venues are more sniper control, so he can just maintain a lead that he builds there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the least surprising double pick of all time, Opie Ballroom. Need we say more? Like well loving that map, and I think a lot of people have also just like. I think that the other maps have still like gone up. There was a while that he was like just hardcore ballroom lover. Um, I still think it's his favorite map, but I don't think it stands out as much as that. I think he's been able to find opportunities on the other maps that are similar to it, but not the same, which also leads into his single pick of Gallery, aka Long Ballroom. And the Veranda single, of course, as well, following up on the bands. Interesting to note here, Opie actually doesn't ever pick doesn't single high rise, so the restrict didn't really come into play there. But also for the restrict, for some players, they just don't really care that much, and sometimes they think that they might accidentally bait out one. So Veranda is going to get picked from the restrict of Opie, and Opie is going to single Gallery, and then we will round it out with Terrace and Modern. I think that those maps kind of just feel like leftovers. I don't think that there's not much I can read into them. They're just kind of like, okay, sure, I'm good with this map. Modern's fun. Terrace definitely to me feels like a leftover map choice. It's just less of a problem for Rav than I don't even know what else would be left over after that, I guess.
Yeah, like pub, courtyard, and something else.
Yeah, I was thinking pub, but
Library,
yeah, courtyard.
library.
Courtyard not being picked in is actually interesting from neither player. Pub is a map that I'm not surprised that neither of them want any part of.
Yeah, Modern is an interesting pick from OP. I've seen him play like deliberately pick some slow characters on there, just because he likes to play so fast, generally speaking, and just as a mix-up, just pick a slow character and play fast on them instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will see all 16 games, so we'll see if that comes into play.
Oh, right. So the that's a good thing to note. So we're going to play all 16 games because it matters for potential standing points afterwards, which I don't remember what they do.
Gentlemen, before I let you off to the game, we need to get some predictions here. And Slappy Davis, because your name is written first, you shall go first.
There's I'd say if I had to put something down, I would be like 70-30 Rav. So I'm predicting Rav. But 70-30 is I don't know, that's Ballroom's sniper win rate. So it's not a completely shocking result if Opie wins. But I just feel like Rav is in shape, motivated, and just came off a good set with Sauerkraut. So I would just feel like it's him. I don't see any specific big weaknesses in his play, but Opie definitely could win. But I'd say solid advantage to Rav.
Yeah, likewise. I'm sure Opie is in playing shape now, so he will come out strong. But Rav, on the other hand, never seems to get out of playing shape. He just has a very steady baseline that is a high level of play. So I will also go Rov. Let's go convincingly.
Ooh, that's a good point about whether or not I think it is going to be more of a close set, just because I expect if both players are in shape, we're going to see Sniper Party. And let's see the venues. I mean, Redwoods. Well, I mean, I guess we'll have to jump into it to see, but the venues aren't super difficult for snipers to take control after we get out of the first after we get out of Redwoods.
Yeah, so these first two doubles are definitely gonna mean a lot in terms of where they can get the spy wins. All right, are we ready to go?
I am all set.
Yep.
All right, Opiwrites as wheels on Ballroom. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I feel like Opie has switched his ambassador pick, which is interesting. He didn't used to be a Tex picker, but I could be thinking like years ago. Okay, we start off with a green timeout right at the beginning. We don't actually run away right as to not draw attention to yourself, which is actually pretty good. So Rav, I'm gonna guess, is pretty used to people trying to break his sniper through opening cheeses, and so he's actually probably pretty good at catching time ads if he actually thinks about them, right? So I think I like that where we did not sprint away from the window after we get that green timeout.
Yeah, for anyone that watches etiquette, that can be more damning than being seen at the window when the timeout is noticed. And a note on the ambassador: if he did play Taft, it probably was a long time ago because I believe Opiwrites has been a Tex Amba enjoyer for a while now.
Very good. Yeah, I think there was a shift towards text a lot when people noticed how useful text was on. Oh, we have a green purloin. Didn't even catch that. The green purloin is off. It has been taken. Let's see what Rob's reaction is. We've had the timeout plus the purloin. So these actually function pretty well together. So this is where I'm going to bring up coherence. So right now, what the play is going to be is we have this green timeout. I think we're hoping for a longer chain than we had at the beginning. But the great thing about an early purloin, I guess I should say the double-edged sword of an early purloin, is you're gonna have a high amount of focus on a few characters, and sometimes the sniper's not gonna be looking for it as much. But if the sniper has had a decent grasp of the purloin, those like if those other people in the chain just do nothing, you're just screwed, right? So the timeout actually augments that. It means that if the purloin was caught pretty solidly, they can still do stuff. So, like for example, I'm just going to assume that the highlights might have touched Berlin in some way, although that doesn't really seem like the case because it doesn't seem like Rob has highlighted us. But Seek is the taker, and so Seek went for a fingerprint, but Twin beat him to it. He went and talked in a conversation circle, left, came back, is going to a statue. So there's lots of activity, and there's still a lot of time left because we've hit that time ad. So this might end up functioning extremely well for Opie. We do have a side statue, so he's got to go one more time in order to actually finish the specs.
Yep, and we didn't do much after that purloin, just staying low for a while, but now we do step in for a side statue to pick up some progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious. Okay, so I don't think we're gonna do any crazy swap stuff here. We are gonna get highlight for the inspects. It's interesting that that highlight felt very like dainty to me. I don't know how else to describe it. It felt very like I'm either reading it as actually underselling how much suspicion we have of Wheels right now. We actually go for this flirt before picking up the statue. We're there for a really long time. We're behind the pillar for most of it, but it just feels like Rob is kind of watching us, but keeping us behind pillar, almost like a bait. It's actually a little bit hard to read Rob right now on how bad this is for him. I mean, I'm assuming that Opie is just gonna straight up contact. Oh wait, no, we go for the bug. We go for the bug. Are we really not seen for this? Are we really not seen? This is actually a shocking win for OP. This does not feel like the kind of win you would get off Rob. That bug was, the bug was at a really good timing. I actually like the idea. I mean, I guess the back end of the turn really did hide the arm. It just feels like the kind of thing that Rob would pivot around. I'm really curious how high of a suspect we were in that game. Excellent job, Opie.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Rov we've seen suspects that seemingly Rov weren't on Rov's radar just get randomly shot when they complete missions. So Rov was on top of them, but in this case, one of the reasons that OP does like the Tech Samba is because of its slow walking speed, and you can do stuff like this. And I guess Rov just wasn't confident that there was a bug there, and wasn't high enough of a suspect to credit and shoot for that.
Yeah, and so I mean I'm really curious because I completely expected what you were describing. I was expecting it's really weird to me that Rob didn't have a lot of low lights. So I was like, does Rob like know exactly who's in the chain but doesn't even want to take the time to do the low lights? And like he's just kind of like waiting for Opie to do missions or seek, like presuming that he didn't see the fade. And so I was kind of expecting us to just kind of get slowly sucked into a position of getting shot. I really like that play from Opie. I feel like the ambassador's leave time is actually a little bit unexpected. So the dip of our arm actually was noticeable. And again, to me, for somebody approaching ambassador to not get caught in a bug means that Rob was actually, I think, flustered by that purloin and the extra time from the beginning. So this is actually that's actually really bad indication for Rob. Rob should win games like that. That should be a game that Rob is able to handle. But he's not able to find it. So we might have the beginnings of something very unusual to us, which is seeing Rob weak on sniper. But that might be me over narrating a bit.
Well, we'll see if Rov can at least bring it back with another spy win. It won't be easy against OP on his favorite venue. Rov as green dress in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
It'll be interesting to see what Rob plays like. So Rob on Ballroom is generally going to be kind of like all right, go for flirt. If that briefcase was full, what's interesting is actually this flirt is late for Rob, uh, uh, which I'm wondering if that is why Twin is highlight is that Rob might know because Rob and Opie have played enough times that Opie will look for people that just have the first opportune flirt timing window available to them, and they just like go for it. So I'm curious if Rob is actually playing a little bit slower. The problem there, though, is Rob is already a pretty slow spy, spoken as a very slow spy. He's very pace engaged, so not actually getting on pace early is going to be a little tricky for him.
Yeah, it looks like right now we're just content to go for a timer flirt here, and we do hit the 2 flirt. As the double agent is in conversation, it's not a bad contact right now, actually. There's only 2 people out, but unfortunately including a small man at center statues.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I think if it wasn't for a center statue visitor, especially Smallman, I think we would have taken that because I actually quite liked that as well. I mean, we had no idea the other SDA was going to be the one out of the conversation, so it just looks really nice. So that's also going to be something interesting for Opie to navigate is why didn't a BB happen? That might throw extra scrutiny on the statue visitors of General and Smallman. So we'll see if that comes into play later. We're going to do a statue to statue at here, and I'm assuming we'll just pick up this highlight. I don't think we're going to read too much into this. I think it's just going to be mission complete. And I don't think we've gotten anything too crazy from it. But if the BB comes off right after, maybe a little bit of suspicion will come to us. Pick up the briefcase.
Yeah, and we are going for the difficult, which we do hit. One of the things about doing these statues early is that he probably knows he's getting highlight, so doing hardtails becomes that much more difficult, but perhaps we are going for a full softail finish.
Yeah, indeed. And so unfortunately, this book is going to get smudged at green right when it gets put back. It gets put back right before Twin puts. So I have a feeling that we want to finish fingerprint we request and we get a green purloin. Okay, so huge moment here. I am assuming yes, we are going to go for this fingerprint. So there is going to be no contact coming off here. The purloin's about to get taken. What does OP see? He's not going to see the fade. I don't think he's even looking yet. Okay, he's going to see it before the next person takes. So now he's low lighting, but he's low lighting and he's not looking for a shot. So almost certainly this is going to be Rav firing back immediately and just doesn't have the missions on Rav.
Yeah, back-to-back silent games from both spies with the inspects plus purloin.
Yeah, and yeah, like you're saying, the difference was just whether or not who got the fingerprint, who didn't. So I don't know if Opie maybe didn't credit the first fingerprint, or because by the time the purloin came off, Opie was, or sorry, yeah, no, Opie was looking at the purloin and considering the purloin and not even thinking about fingerprint at that moment because it's just so counterintuitive. I'm also just let's just look at the timing of when the drink take happened. I would have thought that Opie would have been paying attention to it because it wasn't the quickest call over, but it was behind that conversation like fully. So it might just have gone completely unnoticed that Irish was even in that chain.
Yeah, I think because the ambassador was, under threat next to Seek there, and shortly after White Dress coming to return the briefcase, I think Rav took advantage of that situation and just split the sniper's attention enough to finish those fingerprints while OP is catching up on that purloin.
All right, well, this is really exciting because this is two spy wins immediately off the bat, and there weren't flukes. They were just good spy play and the snipers not being 100% on top of it. So right now, spies are able to exactly find the gaps between the snipers, and curious where this goes from here.
Yeah, didn't expect to see a SpyParty to start out this set, but let's see if it continues as Opiwrites returns on Spy as Teal in 3, 2, 1, playing it. We're going to park ourselves next to the Ambassador, not quite in that golden bug range where we can stand bug.
Yeah, Ambassador makes the choice for us and goes over to that conversation, and it seems like we've committed enough time here that we're just going to timer flirt for the second, especially since we had to go across conversation. We know we can't finish in two. We're just going to pick up the flirt over here. And then Opie's doing a lot of glancing around at who is picking up any sort of suspicion. Um, oh, yes. Okay, so Opie, do you notice that that is such a reverse bug spot for Bling Twin? Because Opie seems like he was positioning up for that, and then Rav, I am guessing that that was the reason for the highlight on Bling, unless you saw something else.
No, I think that's a reasonable guess there. And looks like Opie is going to step into the blue bookshelf now. No print here.
It's such interesting cover, but like right now the stillness. Okay, it's not going to be any good anymore. Toby's moved around. Um, it was strange cover where it felt like the exact edge of being able to see if there was a hand dip for the microfilm. So I can never tell. I guess it's so early in the game that I don't know when Rob is intentionally trying to bait specific plays, or if that's just where the laser is. It felt like Spidey Sensey, like, okay, we might actually just be watching us, not because we have any suspicion of Teal, but that we're just keeping in mind because honestly, this party is a lot chiller than the last one. We've got a couple of specs. Bling Twin's going to be a big nuisance if he actually does anything, but other than that, Ambassador's been relatively out in the open and not doing that many bug paths.
Yeah, and this time we don't have the luxury of that undetected time ad, so we are just kind of burning time here for a little while we only have the seduce done. But now we do start moving with the book, making our way over to the conversation with the double agent.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do with cover at a bookshelf, rather than just also actually do the microfilm, is just hope that you weren't seen at the bookshelves, or at least wasn't recognized. Opie is throwing a lot of looks at that shelf. I mean, we would like to be able to do that as our last mission potentially with 53 seconds. But we'd have to do something like a bug first because we'd have to put something down in order to do it. It really looks like we're staring down this green bookshelf. I feel like we're just going to force the issue. Rob is getting a lot of lowlights. Were those all from the banana bread?
I know some of them were, there might be some behaviorism going on here, and Rav does see Opie return the book, and it looks like he's completely on top of it. The shot was taken.
Yeah, indeed. I think that Rob was watching for the action test earlier. I don't think we had done anything suspicious. I think that was just a really relaxed party, and that Rob was like, after Twin ever even move. No, Twin did move with like 1 minute left and went for a briefcase, but just wasn't doing enough. You know what's interesting, actually? I said wasn't doing enough, but Twin was going to visit statues at least with 30 seconds left, and maybe we could have tried for something there, but yeah, I think that Opie was looking for some cover from the party, but having a book in your hand, you just get so committed. So, anyways, not a bad thing to test out, Rav. Just making sure that he's watching books, even though there's a little bit of cover there, but ends up not working, and that's kind of a traditional Rav shot.
And now we go back to Rav on Spy, looking to take a lead as Queen in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Are we gonna go for this bug? No. Okay. We have a drink in hand. I wonder if we would have potentially gone for that kind of rush if we didn't have a drink. If we had a purse side bug chaos. If we would have just tried to rush for it or not. But all that said, doesn't happen. Isn't material. We have a cross conversation flirt. It is green for 35%, so at least it feels like a close white. But I am going to. Well, no, it's Rob. I was going to say, I'm assuming we're going to ditch this conversation, but actually, it's Rob. We're not going to ditch this conversation. We're probably going to see if we can get another green flirt cross from conversation, because Rob always goes for 2 flirts before leaving any conversation at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, quite a lot of highlights coming out from Opie early on in the game. Maybe these are for those early flirts you were talking about, although Rav is not one of them.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could imagine for these. So I'm curious that Rob's timing on the flirt across the conversation. The thing is, like, I guess my problem with this position for Rob right now is Rob looks like he's flirting with Seek, and so it doesn't actually. It's right now we're not gaining that much from like doing these cross conversations, except for the fact that when we do our last flirt, we could not be anywhere near Seek. So I think it's actually kind of lucky. Okay, we have a fake banana bread coming off. This is actually a really
Banana
good
bread.
banana bread. Only Journal is going to get knocked out. Oh, sorry. The other SDA is out. So we're going to pick up real. Oh, Smallman got low lit. Was Smallman picking up that briefcase at the time? I am very curious about that because they were one of the only 3 getting real with DA.
Yeah, and incidentally, the 2 that were in there that are still highlight were already highlight before that contact, so they might be picking up even more suspicion.
And we went for the 3 flirt across conversation circle. We had to hit 3 greens in order for it to be done, but we just have nothing. That said, if Rob actually fires off a green purloin in this party, he actually has a pretty decent shot of winning. So he might just get forced into that at some point. And then Rocker leaves. That's the thing is like actually that 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 play from Rob right there, unless there was something that he's actually picking up intel on a frame, was way too passive because not only would you have to hit those 3 green flirts from across conversation circle, they'd have to stay still the whole time. And so we've burned so much time in this game, but honestly, it's still not that bad because of how many suspects have gotten generated for OP.
Yeah, and now we're requesting a drink after we make our way to that one real conversation, and we do hit a green purloin. Let's see if it gets taken by this highlight twin.
The one problem with that is that, okay, it is going to get taken immediately. Ooh, can we see the fade? I actually don't know. Yeah, I think, yeah, there it is. I think that game was a little passive from Ruff, but honestly, he played it out the way that you kind of should when you're like you've tried to commit everything to flirt and you've thrown off this fake banana bread and you just test the sniper, right? And so Rav, I think, paying attention to who had real and positioned themselves first to be next to them so that the next offer was going to be to one of the people in conversation circle, gets the green, it fires off. Opie, unfortunately for him, the green fade was barely not like readable because it got pulled up and then immediately yanked away. Okay, so I'm gonna actually look at this fade right here. So I think Opie is actually kind of paying attention right here. Um, and then, actually, no, I lied. Opie was not actually paying attention to the fade. It was just gone after a moment, and then they felt behind and just felt like they needed to shoot. So Opie just was watching a few too many things.
Yeah, and actually, that twin was not the one that had real, but it was the one that had center statues. So, suspicious either way. But I think Rav clearly was going for a frame there at the end. And the small man low light, I just looked at it. It was a clever one. He rejected a drink moments after the banana bread came off, and I think Opiwrites judged that the spy would not have the option to do that quickly enough, and that's what the low light was for.
That is actually really clever. And so Opie was really focused in on that conversation over to pick that up. So that's actually really valuable. But the funny part of that is I am curious if Opie mixed up the characters because it's interesting that Bling Twin would have gotten shot because it feels like they were putting a lot of suspicion on them. I thought because they were in the reel, but it's true that is not the one that was in the reel. They kind of did like a little they did a little twin swap play at the statues. I'm really curious if Obi thought that was the one with real.
Yeah, I mean, especially because it looked like she's flirting with Salmon too.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It, like everything just feels like it lines up, and then they do go next to each other at statues, and they do like a little Monty, not Monty Hall, but little whatever that card game is that I can't think of, and now it should never make that reference. All right, moving on though. So we come away with this. It looked really great for Opie at the beginning. You just be able to steal a spy win off of Rav right at the opening and drawing blood. But then Rav so far has fired back each time, and then we'll be stepping into his pick. So not a great indication for Opie, even despite the strong first game. But this is a map that a big comeback could come from. All right, Monty. Thank you, Adafiyesh.
All right, now we go into Rav's double, and Opiwrites is going to be playing as Disney on Redwoods in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Interesting character selection from Opie. I think that he doesn't like this character in a sense. So to me, okay, so we have an immediate flirt and walk away. This is my uneducated guess that we are going for a purloin this game because Opie, when he picks bad characters, he goes for frames or characters he doesn't like, or he thinks that the other person also thinks that he doesn't like, goes for frames. Then again, we're probably not going to be doing that because we're going for a microfilm instead. So we might be going for the completely invisible, never look at me, I'm Disney. I have that bad bug that I would never want to willingly pick into. So just don't ever worry about me.
Yeah, we step back into conversation with Seek. We don't hit the 2 green, but only 1 flirt left to go from any distance.
Yeah, and I'm curious if we keep up the pacing off of this. So the thing that we were able to steal off that first flirt was the opportunity to jump into, just get, steal a first flirt and just go into a bookshelf right away and not hang out in a conversation circle too much. It does, however, throw off the pacing of Redwoods a little bit where in the opening of Redwoods, you often just go do one thing and then flirt, or you flirt and do that one thing, and the pacing is like the first 30 seconds of you'll have done one of those. So everybody has either flirted or done partial progress or has a purloin in hand by 3 minutes. And so I'm curious if that throws off any of the timing that Rob have. I don't think he cares about stuff like that. Unfortunately, Seek does leave during this, so we are stuck in this conversation a little bit, and we go right over to the. This is actually, I was gonna say really well timed for Rob's tree position, but we do catch the walk away, unfortunately. So we will see if Rob picks up this time map.
Yeah, no reaction yet, but ooh. Well, Seek does join us, and we maybe had like a reverse walking bug opportunity there, but Opiwrites decides against it, possibly because of those large hands of Disney's that Rav could easily catch if he was looking for it.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so right now we have this time ad, we have seduction done, we have a transfer. Almost certainly we want to finish with inspects as well as this other transfer, right? So going transfer first on blue bookshelf means you're going to go to either red bookshelf or green bookshelf. That probably means you're going to throw inspects in there because you've already committed to partial inspects at the very least. Um, it is interesting that we are waiting around this much, though, before actually making our move to books. Here we go. And so now the big question is, are we going to actually transfer at this set? We are going to pick up a highlight while we're here. He actually doesn't have the best. Okay, Rob is going back and forth, so I don't think we should actually go for this. Oh, but maybe. Oh, I cannot tell if he's seen this.
I think it was behind the tree. I think it was pretty good for Opie right there.
Yeah, the pivot was at like the exact wrong time for him. You know, that's the interesting thing about transfer, right? Is the timing window that they have is initiated by the spy, and so if you're pivoting back and forth, you know, and like watching the party, but also watching the person, you don't know when the actual thing would come.
Banana
Okay,
bread.
so there's gonna be a banana bread pretty immediately when he comes into this, and there's just a so I don't know if we actually saw that microfilm enough, but it felt pretty confident. And like you mentioned, we might have had bug credit.
Yeah, I think we were certainly seen at both bookshelves and maybe caught a glimpse of the animation, and Rav was just waiting for one last mission from us, and that contact was enough.
Yeah, it's too bad because I think that everything else. Oh, and actually, the additionally, the time ad. I think that Rob might have caught that time ad. We were being seen walking away from the fireplace, just like triggers something in snipers' brains, right? Just like, okay, I need to be worried about that person, and it's easier to remember someone walking up to the fireplace that you see. Sometimes you can be like, oh, I'm gonna note them, and then kind of like maybe wait for them to watch their check their watch, and then remember that they're at window. But seeing someone that you didn't see enter walk away from fireplace, I feel like we might have just accidentally caught that time ad anyway. So there's a few different ways in which we could have gotten caught that game, and we really needed to be blending into the background. So unfortunately, Rob was able to suss us out, and Rob is up 4-1, going the spy.
Yeah, very strong start for Rav. Opie is going to have to start bringing it back if he wants a chance to win the set. And sniping against Rav as Red Dress on Redwoods in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
We're not quite in like desperation comeback territory for Opie, but like he needs to start getting stuff done. But 4-1 is not an insurmountable lead, or even the one where we have to feel like, okay, we just got to start throwing stuff at the wall and just seeing what sticks. Especially now they're on Redwoods, we really need to finish out this map. But if Rob, like, let's say Rob repeats his performance, he goes up 6-2, for example, on Redwoods. Even if he just goes 1 for 3 out of this next set, sorry, 2 for 3 out of this next set, then I think we're going to be in desperation zone, and we might be seeing odd plays from OP.
Yeah, I think it might feel a little worse than it actually is because we've lost both our sniper games so far, but we did also get that first spy win, which is pretty big for us on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and actually, importantly, like you're saying with those, with the spy wins, they were two different sorts of spy wins as well. They were a just consistently low key mission completion on the first one, and then really playing slowly and kind of committing to the frame. We get marked not suspicious for what? Okay, we get brought back up. Okay, I don't know what that was for. Martini.
Maybe because we haven't talked. Actually, I think we did talk next to the ambassador ones, but this just feels purely behavioral.
I think you're right, and I think that maybe we didn't see Irish there earlier, because like right now, okay, we have the banana bread coming up, so let's see how this resolves first.
Banana
quite
bread.
a few people in motion. Okay, so we have these two conversation circles. It's not a bad banner for Redwoods. It was looking a little bit worse for a second there, but I mean the big news is going to be that Rav, oh, he got the bug during that too. Okay, so we are looking really good because I say I don't know if Rob has felt out this this low light
And
yet,
we
but
take
almost
a
certainly.
direct purloin.
direct purloin, and that is going to be a frame on teal. And so, but the thing is, like, I don't even know if that's a really interesting play. So there's, oh, we get brought back up for this though. I guess maybe just because, you kind of have to. Um, this is really interesting. So Opie remembers that the low light on red hair, on red dress was for a behavioral low light, which is flexible to mission completions, right? So I think that Opie has a good sense of who was near who. I don't think these low lights are real right now. Sorry, I don't think these the party is like true highlights. I think he's just keeping everybody in mind that could be done right here. We are Teal is going to go for this right at the same time that we're finishing flirt. The one thing that's really going to cut against Opie though is that I do not think he thinks this bug has gone off, and I don't think a shot's going to happen because of it. It's too bad though, because I think Opie had a real chance of bringing that back if it wasn't for the fact that I think we missed that bug.
Yeah, no, it was all because of that low light. I think we weren't even thinking about that bug. Maybe those, early losses just kind of just make him feel Opie like he's on the back foot and he has to take these aggressive behavioral lowlights.
Yeah, and it was an interesting play. So like I just want to like think about this banana bread for a second. So we have this banana bread. It's super delayed. So one of the funny things about a white banana bread is if you're in bug range if you're in bug range and you have a white banana bread, you get to think about the timing of your banana bread covered bug a lot. So you actually get to like see your little thing fill up, right? Until you're actually going to say the word banana bread and the mission's going to go off. Or if you hit a green, you actually just have to do it regardless. Like you don't get to think about the conditions. You just get to do it when it happens. So I think that Rav actually gets to look around, see what the conditions are, and goes for it. Little does he know, he gets basically low lit exactly during the window in which he does this bug and purloin. Oh, sorry, he does bug, purloin, and contact all while he's low lit, and then gets brought back up, and all he has to do is that one more flirt. And so it's just interesting because it's not a totally crazy play. It's a banana bread bug where he's not fully covered. The thing that I like though is that he makes it seem like the banana bread was covering something, that it was covering the purloin send from teal. So I'm basically coming around to liking this play a lot because I think what it's going to do is if Opie doesn't even if Rob isn't low lit, the banana bread just feels like it might be covering something, and you make it plausible that it's not covering a bug, but that it's covering a purloin, either send or self take. I like that play a lot. Excellent job, Rob. I like this the most out of your spy games so far, even though there was just a random low leg that felt like it would have gotten you the win anyway.
Yeah, excellent spy win from Rav there. And now we go back to Opie as twin. And look where he spawned right next to. He does love doing these Time of Chaos bugs on Redwoods. Let's see if he goes for it here. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Maybe spawned a little too close, couldn't react in time to make a move there. So we do take our drink into a conversation and start an innocent talk.
Yeah, indeed. Like I agree. Where if we were in a better spot relative to Ambassador, and maybe if we didn't have a drink in hand, um, we might have had a better ability to just react to that, and just try to grab a bug right at the beginning. Um, yeah, this is a little bit of a bummer of a start because we're like everybody's outside of conversation except for the conversation circle we're in, and we're not getting flirt progress. So we actually get kind of lucky that we don't. I guess we still might picked up some potential flirt crossover progress, but like we're not getting anything done, and we could have been one of the few people in this. We're going right back to where we were. Actually, okay, no, we are going to just the window. Okay, that's great.
No timeout this time. We're just going to spend a hot second there and make our way to another innocent conversation, at least to us, as we don't know who the suspected double agent is.
Yeah, the slow start so far. Sometimes spies on Redwoods they'll have a slow start and then they just kind of start deciding to commit towards a frame, kind of like Rob possibly did on that ballroom game a few months back. There's a ton of people in conversation circle, so if there's a fake, I'm pretty sure we're going to go for a purloin attempt. We are actually not going to go for a purloin attempt. A spot opens up next to white, and we're finally able to start getting progress. First progress of any mission yet. We are going to go for the contact first. Double
And
Agent's
the
gonna
red.
leave during the white. That is, I mean, honestly, it's bad, but it also puts us into a position where we might do something strange because of it. Rob is gonna have like a time trying to figure out, okay, was that a was there an intentional non-contact there? I don't know. Was the SDA in during that after the DA left?
She was very close to being in. I think she was. We did leave shortly thereafter as well.
That highlight's really bad. I don't think we actually saw the physical bug there, but I just think it's such an OP reference. Yeah, we just get shot there. So unfortunately, the weirdness of the contact doesn't end up going in our favor, and the slow start means like we could have actually been done with flirt. We could have been actually trying to finish up like fingerprint and something else at that statue or something. Rob was just not playing around at that point. And I'm pretty sure if they didn't see the bug, it's just such a timing for the bug. Yeah, I don't think we could have. I think it's just the turn.
Yeah, I think that because OP does love doing those double walking bugs, and that on top of the fingerprintable statue, I think was enough of a tell for Rov to take that shot right there.
And here we are at 6-1. I said a few games back that Opie really doesn't want to exit Redwoods down 6-2, but now that's his best case scenario. So now we're definitely in desperation zone at this point. So far, I mean, the big thing for Opie is, of course, also been the fact that his sniper has consistently failed to find any shots on this. And I think that coming into this, that would have been what Opie would have thought would have been his one big significant edge, is that he feels like he could get a bead on Rob's spy, but it has just not worked out yet so far. So we will see if Rob is able to pick up his fourth consecutive spy win or not.
And this time we are as Salmon, tallest character in the game, in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Going for a quick time ad. We're going to leave immediately.
We're going to be in motion right as it happens. Okay, so I'm trying to see where we're lining up. If we were just, yeah. I actually, that's an unusual timing for OP. So that's something that I do, and I actually berate myself for, is fixating on low lighting the DAs in the first 15 seconds. You shouldn't. You just don't care about the DAs in the first 15 seconds. It's fine. You'll get them later. They have yellow arrows. You'll be able to find them again. Don't worry about it. During what is one of the most critical periods of a SpyParty game. And so we missed the opportunity to catch this time ad. I think we've gone away with it completely clean. We might not even caught up to the fact that there has been a time ad yet.
Yeah, it was a white time ad, so it would have been immediately detectable, but we do get out of there quickly and just go to a statue as soon as we can. Just do something with our hands that isn't looking at our watch.
Yeah, and the time ads are going to be especially brutal for Redwoods, of course. Getting an early timeline in Redwood just gives you so much space. Okay, are we going to be able to resist this bug? Opie's committing so hard to it, I don't think we can actually take it. Yeah, okay, good. So Rob sniffs it out, doesn't actually go for anything there, and I think Opie will also feel fairly comfortable that no bug did happen during that period of time, and whether or not Rob is able to capitalize on anything else happening in the map when that bug was happening, but I don't think anyone was really doing anything.
No, and in the meantime, we are content with just picking up a flirt and bending. Oh, we get low lit again! Okay, now we're being brought back up. Opie having some second thoughts here, not too confident about his lowlights after last game.
Yeah, and that would be actually so. It's possible that Opie is trying out a opponent-specific low lighting strategy that he cooked up for Rav here, and that Opie might be considering retailoring that midstream, which is probably a bad idea. It's probably a bad idea to try to switch it up like this. Although, I mean, it has not worked out so far, but I feel like if you prepped for it, you should just commit to it. But who knows? It could just be for something completely random that's not actually really Rob specific.
Yeah, there is such a thing as over prepping, in the sense that you kind of convince yourself that some trends exist, and maybe due to low sample size or whatever it may be, it may not actually be the case. But there is
Absolutely.
definitely a lot of research that goes into these matches for sure.
Yeah, and I think that so it's funny that you mentioned the over prepping thing because like that thing is it's bad for snipers to feel. I feel like it's kind of good for spies to feel. I've noticed that if I feel like I've found a weakness in
Banana
someone's
bread.
sniper, I will do better. Okay, we have a banana bread that comes off. We should have 3 or 4 highlights come, or sorry, lowlights come off. Pretty good banana bread. I mean, well, it depends on whether or not we. Yeah, actually, I feel like this is actually a pretty good banana bread. So let's talk about this banana bread for a second. Um, all the DAs are in conversation, and then there's this big conversation. Sorry, without a DA in the back. So we'll probably fire off another banana bread at some point, and there's additional scrutiny and threat placed near the ambassador conversation. So while ambassador being in conversation during the banana bread theoretically doesn't matter because it's not someone that could have contacted DA. It's great because all of a sudden it draws attention about okay, did something happen because of that banana bread? But so far, uh, Rob seems to be setting up for just a timeout, just a straight up timeout, testing Opie's limits to just not shoot somebody on Redwoods with a timeout, and it seems to be not working out for Rob. I think this is just going to be a very generic timeout.
Yeah, that is another thing that separates these two players. Maybe not even at a play style level, but a philosophy level. Opiwrites basically never times out. He would rather, go for a crash bug, a crash timeout, whatever it may be. But Rav, perfectly content with taking the occasional timeout, especially when he has a lead like this, and he can just afford to test a sniper, like you said.
Yeah, and of course, we talk about this with the intentional timeouts, and I don't think it's ever really been proven one way or the other. Of course, the theory is if you're willing to do it, it can lure some snipers into a false sense of security if it feels like nothing is happening in the last 15 seconds of another game where you're actually just like finishing a flirt at the end, something low key, something like that. So it could potentially pay off with a spy win later in the game where just like nothing was really going our way that game. We didn't get what we wanted to with just a wrong shot. So I feel like the overall strategy, fine from Rav. Right now, if he feels like OP is a bit on edge, trying to make up deficit, just test him. Say, hey, can you hold a shot if you feel like you're under pressure?
Yeah. So the doubles are done and dusted. Rav taking both of them 3-1 to take a commanding 6-2 lead into halftime, with only the 4 singles left. And up next is. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, one of them is going to be so just looking ahead, one of them is going to be Veranda, and that's real tough. Like most of the flexibility in the set came at the beginning on Redwoods and Ballroom. So Gallery, this is like, I mean, of course, as we go through, well, like each set is going to be the most important set, but this is. I mean, actually, he just loses if he loses any games. Never mind, he has to just start winning stuff. He's got if he pulls out 7, I guess it's just done. Right? Am I missing something?
It's
Or is
first
it
to 9.
first to 9, right? It's 16 games, not 12. Right. So first to 9. So if we don't pull something up in gallery, we'd have to start. We'd be 8-8 on 8-2. We'd have to pull out a sweep on Veranda and Terrace and Modern. Terrace, all of those are just super tricky. It's really going to come down to gallery of whether or not we're going to start seeing a comeback at this point. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to jump into it and see.
Yeah, it does not get any easier for spies going forward. But now we will go into gallery, spying as Salmon. Opiwrites in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
It's not. I'm going to respond to chat right here. It's not that it's all 16 getting played. It's that I forgot that it was a best of 16 just altogether. Was trying to remember how many what the golden number is going to be, and that it is going to be 9. Okay, we immediately get this bug off. So this is actually really cool. So I was actually curious about what kind of bug we were going to go for with salmon, because salmon does not have a great reverse bug, and that's actually going to be swung out, right? Like the traditional bug on gallery is you're standing either at a painting or in the conversation circle. You wait for ambassador to come by, and you try to do a reverse bug, and just hopefully it's not noticed. You're really tall, and your arm sticks out a decent amount, and so Jackson is often not someone that's really in that zone. Not in that zone where we're really worried about bug as much. So getting a bug early is especially nice on Jackson. So I'm really just curious where we go from here.
Yeah, I feel obligated to say as a etiquette sniper that Opiwrites just started a path to a full conversation and did a stop, which AI will not do, but Rolf probably not on the top of his priorities.
So you're saying that they would never have even considered in the first place to go there if it had to have been available when they started the path?
Right, it needs to fill up on their way there.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, but I agree. I don't think Rob is going to be looking for that as much. That said, gallery is one of the better spots to look for stuff like that. Of course, right? Only 2 conversation circles, and the front one fills up all the time. Are we? Where? Are we? Okay, we are going for that spot. Interesting spot. I guess it is as available as the other spot on the other side.
So we have a hard tell done and a pair of inspecs and a book in hand as we try to finish Flirt out here. Do you think this is going to be another direct transfer attempt?
I would. It's a good question. I don't actually know what we're going to do with this book. I feel like we can't. I feel like it's just such a bad Jackson play, right? Like to go for a direct. That's just such a tricky ask for a spy. And I feel like also Opie is conscious of the fact that he picked up a highlight from the statue. So no, I don't think we're going for direct here. I think this is an excuse to leave after this talk. So I think we're gonna finish this one, go here, put the book back if there's space, and it looks like there is gonna be space. Oh, actually, we get this contact. Yeah, sorry, the contact jumped in here. So what does this party look like for a contact? It's not great, unfortunately. And we're also next to Ambassador, which Opie's really not like.
We do have a book in our left hand. Oh. Okay.
Interesting. I'm actually quite surprised by that shot, unless we caught the bug at the beginning.
That's what I was going to say. I think Rav was totally on top of that bug. It is a bit of a loopy path outside. And let's see, does he bugs with his left hand, right?
I guess it is kind of a loopy path back to the statue as well. Like we kind of go out to the side. Like you're saying, the initial part of the bug path being forced out to the side to cover the hand pushes us out into the exterior of the venue, and then we loop back in towards the statues. It just didn't feel like a natural finish for statues. So, anyways, that felt like a good play by Opie. That last bit of the decision there. The main thing I'd be sad about is I'd be really sad if Rav messed up and forgot that he had book in his hand, or just didn't think that there was a bug. I hope that Rav caught the first bug, because otherwise that would be sad if it was something as simple as Ambassador being next to him during the double agent.
All right, and now Rav will be going back in as spy, as Boots, a commanding lead. With one more win, he can tie the set at a minimum. And 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, nothing seems to be sticking so far for Opie, and of course, like with the group play of basically being the top players in SpyParty at any given time, for SMC just being like the prestige tournament of the community. There's not like spaces where you're like, okay, well, I can lose to Rob, but then I just have to clear out the rest of the group and be okay. No, these aren't like the randomized groups of a Winter Cup or a Summer Cup. where maybe there's like two really top players and the other two are much lower, and then like the top two players, they have their games and they kind of decide who goes out first and second. But then it's kind of like, oh bummer, well I'll still advance. No, definitely not guaranteed at all. Who else does OP? The other person in this group is Grash and Sour. Is that correct?
Sauerkraut, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's a tough ask. You really don't want to be dropping any games at all.
And Rov does have that one win against Sauerkraut already, so I believe winning here would guarantee a spot in the final championship bracket.
Yes, I think that that makes sense. Yeah. Let's see here. So we have the okay. Ooh, Rob is unhappy with that seduction cancel. So uh, that is not a red test. That is a he started the animation. Sorry, started the action test for seduce, and seduction target left before it actually even got to the bar. They're a little bit rarer, but they can still happen, and they're an interesting form of the ditch. And we are going to meet up instead of paintings. But the main thing for Rob that I think is going to frustrate him is he's going for this is much more a Rob like game where the pacing is going to be fingerprint, flirt, fingerprint, contact, something, right? And that he really doesn't want to be off the pacing on that one, have to rush something else.
Yeah, he does love to have that one fingerprint and, most of flirt in pocket just so he has some options to finish at the end.
Yeah, and it's playing very differently than his previous game, where they're just like timing out. Because this is the kind of shot he's going to try to be the kind of spy that might have gotten shot in that last Redwoods game of just like a primarily soft tail finish. I know this is all speculation, but I'm assuming that we're going to contact and fingerprint with the end of this. And if there's the opportunity, maybe inspect. But I feel like double inspect is gonna be a little tricky with 1 minute left.
Yep. It is possible that, he does like that ballroom play where you stay low for the whole game and go for a, purloin at the end while you finish Prince. We flashed low light there for a second.
Yeah, was that a reconsidering low light? Because it was fast enough that it
And in the
might
red.
be it's like a zoom in, but I can't tell. I can't tell if he was trying to signal top suspect.
Possibly. A BB comes off. A few people get low lit for that.
Yeah, and right now this feels like a very controllable game for Opie. Not a ton of stuff is happening at statues, so we shouldn't have anything too crazy over here. I'm assuming we're setting up for this bug on the way out, but I don't even know what we'd fit. I guess we'd go for the. I guess we're gonna go for the bug into the fingerprint at the bookshelf. That's my guess. So a bug here, and then fingerprint. Yeah, that's what we are indeed going to do. And oh god, like Opie's getting crushed by Rav. It's just there's no easy way to say it. Like everything in this game was pointing, I think, towards a mission win, and we got a wrong shot at the end where I think that Opie is just trying to catch up at this point because that's such a to me Rob finish of the bug into fingerprint finish at the end there, but unfortunately we're really worried about Ponytail.
Right. Yeah, I thought this was gonna be the OP sniper win because that reverse drive by bug. It's actually pretty visible if you're looking at it. Her left arm just snaps downwards because she kind of holds them together in front of her. But yeah, OP just wasn't even looking at it. He was too worried about Alice finishing there.
Yeah, that's the part I'm really surprised about is so Opie's actually really good at parsing endgame scenarios as sniper in real time. OP doesn't need to worry about that statue yet, right? You can watch everything else in the whole party. If you think Ponytail is finishing in specs or even going for like a completely invisible swap here at the end, you have 11 seconds left. Wait until 5 seconds or something, right? Because like it's true that you probably don't have enough time to wait for overtime if Ponytail's finishing the specs, but you get to parse out all the other last second finishes in the whole map. So you stare down Ambassador or Toby or something else until you actually feel like you have to take that shot, right? You don't need to take that shot early, and you might as well clear all the things like a crash purloin or crash bug. So um, just a bummer, and I just feel like exactly like you were saying, this feels like the kind of game that if Opie was confident, this is one where he would catch this last second bug. That bug was apparent, and normally Opie gets that.
Yeah, and until you mentioned it, I didn't even realize that, she doesn't finish picking up the statue until like 8 seconds left. So he could have waited for OT if he wanted to. Um, so I think that just kind of shows that Opie was a little flustered and wasn't thinking out the scenarios properly.
Yeah, and to give Rob props, that game came together well for Rob. Like Rob found a pretty good way to finish where it wasn't so obvious that nothing else could be looked at, right? Like there could have been other ways that bug got missed, like if Opie took a really bad angle, or if the ambassador's path out of books was a little bit more friendly to walking into as the bug. I like that finish. I like the waiting for the ambassador to leave bug and then go fingerprint right where they were at. It's like a clean way to get those last two pieces. But I still feel like that was a messy sniper game from Opie, unfortunately. And it's not going to get easier for Opie right now. That is for sure.
No, because we're going to Veranda, and Opie needs to pick up as many points as he can at this point for the standings. And he is going to start off as Orange Sorry, the second slowest character in one of the larger venues. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, the thing about Veranda though for the large character thing is Veranda you can be sufficient on a certain size. Ooh, I feel like Rob might have actually seen that ditch, but we might have been looking at other things. If we get highlight though before, nope, okay, no,
See
but
if
we
we
want to
saw
take another
that
highlight.
purloin.
Ooh, you're right. Completely missed the green purloin. So, Opie. So this. Oh God. Okay. Actually, this is where I think we've actually gone too far. I do not actually. I do not like this swap. I like the early purloin. I'm feeling we're going to go contact during this part and just throw everything at the wall. Um, the swap. I mean, we'll see what the swap timing is like, though. Okay, we got to go contact right now. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a conversation. We're gonna go block. Are we gonna go block? We're gonna block. We're gonna block. We're gonna block. Yes, we are gonna block. Okay, now it's good. Now it's a good play. Official good play status coming from this swap. I actually dig this now. Okay. Oh, didn't get blocked though. Okay. No, never mind. Bad play. Bad play status. Complete reversal. I thought that was gonna be close enough to block the to stall out the green test, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I think Opie going a little too hard, a little too ham there. Because yeah, like you said, like the early flirt and the purloin is like not bad, but especially because he only hits a white flirt here, so then how are you going to finish? Are you going to expect that Rov is not going to parse out this purloin and swap by the time you get 3 flirts, or are you going to go for a different fifth mission? It felt like a low percentage play.
Yeah, and just unnecessary because as much as I will rag on Veranda for being a little too easy for Sniper, it does get more stressful the further the game goes. If you are able to get off a clean early purloin on Veranda, like super clean, it does ratchet up the stress a bit. That said, I also don't totally love early purloins on Veranda because one of the only dynamic things you have to guard on Veranda is purloin. I think it's one of the trickiest things to do on Veranda just because there's so many small conversation circles that are kind of scattered all over the map, and Toby's kind of bouncing around. That if you take that off the map and it's just an any 4 of 7, if the sniper is able to mentally reset and not overreact, it's not that bad. But anyway, you could just wait until later in the map to do exactly what you've done, right? If we truly get that purloin clean. So I do feel like this was just Opie just you know pedal to the pedal to the floor and just seeing what happens. I'm curious if we were able to get the swap delay off, that would have been interesting. It still would have been messy, of course, but I would have liked it more.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure exactly how it works. Like, do you have to have a statue in the hand, or for them to not swap it, or do you have to get there earlier? But
So I think you just have to be so when the tech first started getting used on library a lot, people thought you had to be in the pad, but I think we have demonstrated you don't have to be on the pad. You just have to be really close to the statue. I swear that range of swap denial used to be far enough that you could block from the far side of a courtyard, and it was one of the funniest things that you could do. But I don't remember. I feel like Checker wouldn't have changed the programming for that because nobody was really using that tech back in the day very often. It was just like this fun little thing you could do. Um, but anyways, so I feel like it's just you have to be really close to it. But you can't. I know that if you're in the pad, you do block it though. So I'll have to rely on other people that know that tech better than me. But I know it's really close. I think you can do it from outside of the same pad. But certainly he was not quite close enough when he was standing a little bit off to the left side of the pad on that one.
Yeah, and that was
Oh,
the type
and
of game. Oh, sorry.
sorry, I missed the main thrust of your question though, which was in hands. Yes, you can deny the swap when it's in their hands. If you're standing in the same pad as them, for sure, the swap just won't happen. They'll pick up the statue, they'll cycle through the entire thing, they'll put it back down. If you never give them a window of the time where they might do the whites, their version of the swap, right? They'll put it back down and it just won't happen. And then the next call will get reset.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I was just gonna say that that game was like what I was kind of describing what he likes to do on Modern, where he just picks a slow character and rushes on like big venues. So we did see it there instead. But now Rav is going to be coming in on the Spy as Disney. Not the first time we've seen him. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and so interesting to see just how they play out now that they have. It's not full house money because, like you said before, the points are meaningful. Especially, this might be where some of the rules come in. If we just get this bug like yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I guess we're just not watching stuff. I feel like at this point it was Toby's supposed to that he should have been able to catch that. It was just out there in the open, and it was not a bad timing. It wasn't super obvious, but he was standing face to the sniper, just did it. That said, it's still Veranda. You don't have to be watching it that closely. Like you could just give up bug entirely and just watch everything else, and you can be fine. But I am surprised that Opie's letting stuff off like that. But anyways, so the meaningful part is if they have extra seeding points going into the next round, do they get to pick their opponents or do they just get the lower seed?
I think it's the lower seed. Do you know any more about that, wrestler?
I
If you're
can
listening.
confirm, yes, that it's the lower seeds. So the
Gotcha.
first
So it's
first
not
the
like
first
the-
seed from the first group will face the second seed of the second group, and vice versa.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's not the getting to select thing like they did for groups, for example, where they don't get to just pick. So it's presumably better to play the second seed from those other groups, but sometimes honestly, there'll be people coming from the second slot that you might be more afraid of. So, anyways, Rav will probably still just assume that they want to get as many of these as they can because they will not want to face the first place finisher out of the other group. But that said, also they're all monsters. Like it's kind of crazy. So he might not care as much about the ranking points because he's like, well, I just have to beat someone really good, no matter what I do.
Yep. And in the meantime, Rob hasn't done a whole lot other than pick up a couple of inspects after that early bug. He's gonna ignore the briefcase and make his way over to Taft to get some more float progress. And we also have the double agent here if we wish to go for that.
Absolutely, and also just to pick up more on just like the because just like I don't think much is going to happen for a little bit here. Although actually, there's probably going to be a purloin here. It just feels like the kind of game where well, no, there's that take. We're probably not going to purloin. Oh no, we request, so I guess we are. It's just going to be a fresh one. So this is a fresh green test off of this. This is definitely an opportunity for Opie to come back. There is a reject from Duke as well. We're going to be finishing up. Are we going to finish inspect and swap at the same time here? We're not coming to. Oh, it's fingerprint. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so Purloin happens, fingerprint's done, inspect is done, and we could. I don't think that briefcase has a final fingerprint, so we do have to do one more. I think Rob would have loved to just go straight into the fingerprint so that when the Purloin's coming off, we finish inspects and we're finishing fingerprints right there. Um, Ambassador is going to leave a fingerprint at Green Bookshelf, so it probably is going to be our next destination.
Yeah, we see more lowlights coming out from OP this game. Fortunately, we have not lowlit Rov this time, but with one print left to go, are we going to be able to shoot for this?
It is going to be gone. Alice grabbed this. Oh no, it's not. It's not. I lied. I thought that Alice both grabbed the book and put it back, and double smudged. But no, Rob is gonna get a spy win on Veranda, and just in a good game again. But this is the kind of pressure that Opie should be able to handle. Like again, it's a really solid game. I might lose to this game for sure. Um, but it's nothing happened in this game that was absolutely crazy, right? There were several different spots in which we could have found our way back into it. There's 4 seconds left. Um, yeah, but just everything that Rob is doing is working right now versus Opie.
Yeah. And something to note about these, play out the whole thing sets. Once you've lost, it's kind of hard to. It can be hard to find that motivation to try to keep playing at your best after that point.
Yeah, and like that can go different ways as spy, but it's just hard as sniper, right? Like sometimes spies will go ultra slow and then just like do hard commits, which makes the spy games kind of unpredictable and but also sometimes it just works. But as sniper, it's just bad, right? If you're not motivated to like be at the top of your game, sniper is just worse. Like if you're just taking riskier shots, you're gonna play a worse sniper. You might play a better spy, right? Strangely enough.
And let's see if OP can get that spy win as general going into Modern in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I will say I do like that Opie was trying to force Rob to do missions on Veranda, right? Like the fact that there was a purloin that wasn't directly at the end of the game, Opie might have been calling Rob out on the timeouts that he had earlier on, and that's just the slow play style. So it's Veranda. There's often just timeouts where you throw in a banana bread and a purloin, and then you just hopefully the sniper overreacts and shoots someone because it's often your best chance of getting a win on Veranda. So overall, the structure of that one isn't a bad call from Opie, but I also think that it's just normally the kind of thing that you'd be picking up more.
Yeah, for sure. And this is not an easy venue to win a spy on either, but we do get a standing bug. It's fully visible to the sniper. No reaction from Rov, but quite possible that he did see it.
I kind of just refuse to believe Rob didn't see that. You know,
Yeah.
like it was just like in the corridor of sight that was perfect. Like I can't imagine a better line of sight to the standing bug. That it's funny because you talked about like sometimes it's hard to find the motivation. That does actually apply both ways. Like Rob also might not be all that motivated to press himself super hard. Also, interestingly, um, this is going to be less relevant for someone like Rob versus someone who's like a super obscure tech heavy player. They might play it super straight, right? They may play really normal games from here on out, not wanting to tip any sort of research to their future opponents. So it could just be that also we're just going to see really boring games from Rob. That's kind of the incentive, I guess, for Rob if he doesn't care about the points as much, is that he
So
just
nothing
doesn't want to give
changes, right?
anything.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Yes, that's right. All right. Well, I mean, so far nothing's happened, but I also just feel like the other kind of time where you can tell if a sniper is baiting someone a little bit is if they're not doing anything else. sorry, being the sniper, being the spy a little bit as sniper, is in that if they feel really inactive as they watch the rest of the party, which I feel like Rob is just moving really slowly on other stuff and just kind of playing along. That said, I'm committed to the fact that I just feel like I'm just be shocked if we miss that bug. It just also felt like such a not OP bug to me. That's the part that is, again, it's not confusing because I do agree. I think OP has lost motivation. Oh, we're gonna get joined by seduction target here. I think we planned it out. That's a nice little move. I are we intentionally do that? I'm actually curious about that. I don't know if we
It
double
was
click.
after the flirt, so I think so. But
Yeah. So I mean, we are behind, but okay, we do get marked suspicious. Um, so I think we're caught for the time ad there. I also just feel like still we probably got caught for the bug. So that's very bad. OP is probably going to lose this one, even if that bug we got away from it clean. Minute and a half, and we still are like we're this far behind on flirts. And the fact that our AT rate has gone way down ever since losing that streak. That's the other thing that you can see in players is that their action test green rate goes down when they're not motivated because they're just not paying as much attention. They'll just be late on back. So we've seen so many white tests this game this season.
Banana bread.
Not like OP. Double agent goes off. We're just gonna find this shot. Possibly we saw the bug or not, but just very sure based on the time ad.
yeah, I think after that time ad, we were just waiting for any excuse to shoot. And like you said, another white test. We were betrayed by it earlier on Redwoods when the DA left because we didn't hit that green test, and it's not been helping us out this set.
Not at all. All right. Well, I guess let's just jump into Modern because I'm just curious to see if anything strange just happens because Rob is just obviously comfortably ahead at this point.
Yep, Rav spying as Rocker in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So this is especially a map where I don't think Rav is going to be incentivized to tip any real strats. Modern, there's lots of little things you can do in here, and it's honestly a lot of spy agency. I actually like Modern quite a bit. The only thing that I don't like about Modern is that sometimes Ambassador gets into a rut where Ambassador just like painfully easy to guard. For like really long periods of time, sometimes like the entire game, Ambassador feels really easy to guard, and then it's like just hard for the spy. But other than that, there's like a ton of spy agency. So I have a feeling that Rob's just going to play a normal gambit of some sort, and not tip too much future strategy towards his one remaining opponent, which would be Grash.
Yep, I think Modern, it originally was a 5 of 8 venue, but compared to something like Library, which is also full guest 5 missions, everything's so open and everything's so visible. So there was clearly like a balance issue there. But when you make it 4 missions, if you play normally, it's worse than like a regular, like a Redwoods or a Ballroom. But if you can just like cheese or get one clean hardtail, suddenly it becomes like it's like one. If you miss another hardtail, it's just flirt and contact. So in a way, there is a lot of a room for these little cheese strats, like those transfers around the corner, or like transfers behind the conversation, things like that can make this very. It just gives the spy more agency than meets the eye, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Modern is fabulous. The 5 of 8 thing was always a mistake. Hated that from the beginning. Really glad. Shoutouts to that was Pwn Noob. Really pushed 4 of 8 by running a tournament. I don't think that was the first Sniper Arcade. I think it was something like Halloween related. So we're actually probably coming up with the anniversary of any 4 of 8 Modern. It was some spooky themed map set, but it was any 4 of 8 library, any 4 of 8 veranda, any 4 of 8 modern. Any 4 of 8 modern was by far the most popular out of the 3. I really liked any 4 of 8 veranda out of that. Any 4 of 8 library was kind of stymied by the fact that spies were a little bit uncreative and just did tons of swap locks, with that thing. I still think that any 4 of 8 library is very possible. You just drop the time off a lot, and then snipers will adapt to the swap blocks because they are still risky. You still have to get certain types of animations coming from them, but they were just so frustrated by that tournament that they just never wanted to try any 4 of 8 library again. Now we're kind of stuck with library being any 4 of 8. Veranda, ridiculous, should be any 4 of 8, but that's the end of my soapbox there. Modern, like you're saying, it's got this great open feel to it, and with it being any 4 of 8, there's like, you can see like anything, right? But there's just so many little things happening at any point in the game that sometimes drawing out the spy is just tricky. We have the Purloin has gone off, and we will see if Opie is able to track this at all. No highlights have come off onto us yet, so that's a pretty bad sign for Opie. The fact that we're not having a strong reaction.
No, and it looks like we're gonna head over to the briefcase and pick this up. This should be a fresh one, and possibly looking for a contact print finish. There is enough time to do that if we want to, provided that there is a last fingerprint that we know there is somewhere.
Yeah, if this is a fingerprintable statue, which I've not really. Oh yeah, it is. He's just gonna go straight swap right here at the end. Opie, if you lose this, come on. Oh wait, we don't actually go for the swap. We're gonna crash bug instead. That's the correct choice. We'll see if. Oh come on, Opie. We saw that path. We saw that path right at the end of the game. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Opie is not paying as much attention. That's another one where I feel like Opie gets. Opie doesn't give up Ambassador like that at the end of the game if he's not conflicted, because really truly nothing else is happening on the map at that point. The only thing you have to worry about is swap and bug, and you don't give up Ambassador, that angle on Ambassador like that at the end.
No, not at all. I mean, that path, it doesn't even make sense that he would start walking that way and then redirect outside. But yeah, a lot of bugs missed by OP this set. Very uncharacteristic.
Indeed. And a lot of fingerprint, like strong finger, like, and I think that's true tendency, the fingerprint tendency. So we'll see how that plays out. Brava's has been finishing a lot of fingerprints in this set. Yeah, I don't think has swapped. I'm trying to think if they've swapped or done a microfilm at all. I don't think so, but could be wrong about that. Happy to be wrong.
No, I think it's mostly been Purloin, prints, and some statues in there.
All right. Well, OP stepping into the last. It's like, 12, 12, 12-4 sounds a lot better than 14-2. So I feel like there's still some slight motivation for OP here. And it is Terrace where you don't have to try that hard to cobble together a decent spy showing on this one. Like, you can test them. Like, you can just test them on doing a Purloin. Like, hey, all right, coin flip time. Who do you think it is? And actually, this might be what we expect here from Opie. But without further ado, I think we can get started on it.
All right, Opiwrites as queen in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opiwrites pulling out the QXG in this last spy game.
Admirable, right? Like, that's very intentional at that point, because it's a little self-deprecating in some sense, I think, and it also just makes it more fun. Like, honestly, sometimes in either losing situations where like someone just pulls out a Smallman, it's actually kind of freeing in that sense, where you actually can try some of the more fun Smallman tech or do something out there. But it's not going to be crazy strategy coming out from OP from this, but I think it's going to be a good sign that he's enjoying it maybe a little bit more than I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, even if you win by 10, if one of those wins is a QXG, then it feels like it counts for more.
Indeed. Or if you start trying to spell something at the very end. Ooh, and I think we're getting rewarded. Nope. General does not actually come out to us.
Yeah, that would have been fun if he. Oh no, he's gonna walk past us again. If we could have just walked to us and then frame for him, that would have been quite fun.
Yeah, no, that would have been fun, because like that's the thing about like QXG thing is, because it's a 2-character play, it cuts both ways, right? So that even if you are part of the QXG, you also are the seduction target to the other one potentially, and you can try to frame the other one. So it makes the QXG a little bit more like of the one of the fun character memes, because otherwise it's not figuring out is this person this or not. It's okay, even if I think they are this, which one?
Yep, and we do make our way to the bar, presumably to purloin this.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, it would be late, but I think it is going to be a direct. Yeah, I do think that this is I think this is still too late. So we'll see what happens here. But it would have been like right at the right threshold of timing, I guess. And then Opie is just gonna, come back in here. And this is gonna be whether or not Rav buys into this behaviorally, right? Is who has been coming up to who more, which ones seem more realistic. The funny thing is Rav actually he highlit Toby on the way to it. Um, I think. So it was like kind of calling that out in advance. Um, this is an interesting problem for Opie here, the double agent being out. Uh, it's really good though if double agent goes into a conversation circle and General happens to join right about 10 seconds. This actually looks super suspicious for General, and General's gonna pick a conversation soon. He is not picking a.
Ooh.
Actually, I lied. He's not picking a conversation. We have no chance here. This could be a timeout. It's not. The thing is, actually, that if I had seen that game and I didn't know the score, I could say that Opie. It's uncharacteristic, like you said, for Opie to be willing to time out. We would have like either jumped to Windows or done like contact plus crash bug or something. Um, but the actual end result of going for that, there was like a decent chance. If General jumped into a conversation, we had not a terrible chance of winning that game.
Yeah, I think on a venue like this where you're clearly banking on a 50-50 frame, that is one of those situations where timing out is reasonable if the other one's not finishing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we will go into the final game. Rav pulling out his favorite spy, Duke, Mr. Yu, in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's like instant shot Duke. But there's also a small moment because like I think because that game was so ostentatiously a QXG game that Opie is probably thinking a little bit about character meta at this point, and that characters like Duke go way up. Queen's not on this map, so it's not gonna be a reversal of that trend. But Duke, Mom, and Smallman jump way up in my estimation if he thinks that he's responding with some sort of signature.
He did put a Kane as his seduction target, so maybe Rav thinking about that a little as well.
Very true. Yeah, no, yeah, well, I guess we'll see, like, right there, like, whether or not also Kane could have potentially bugged. Interesting little, yeah, he likes that a lot, you can tell. Because not only is that closer for the flirt, it's a strange redirect that kind of looks like getting closer for one of his flirts. What was that for, by the way, Martini? Was that
That was for the
only?
briefcase, yeah.
Gotcha. It was so clean though. It's such a clean like little redirect where it just looked like a shift, and there's like not even a full turnaround. But I was assuming it must have been.
Yep. And we're just gonna stand here and take the flirt that Kane's giving us.
All right. Well, we're gonna be picking up a. There's gonna be a fingerprint at bar soon, and given that Rob has like been
Actually,
doing not. Actually, no. You're right.
he didn't take a
Please.
drink, yeah.
All right. Well, White is the only person out there with like a timing window that we could possibly hit for a purloin frame. We still got a minute left. And okay, so this is interesting. Okay, let's say we leave after Papa Danger talks to us, and so Danger could be done with flirt. We could be done with flirt. There's a few other people like to flirt. I don't know what that highlight on general is for. But
He
it
might
just feels
have
like
he might have
window.
completed inspect.
Ooh, right, of course. There seem to be so few highlights out there that you're right. There might be just inspect tracking with that, and maybe some fingerprint as well. Considering shooting Smallman there for a second there, it seems.
And the
You're
end of
gonna
red.
fake. Yep. And yeah. Okay. Well, that's that. Opie. It's so funny because I was actually like really optimistic about Opie's chances given the very, very opening game. Seemed like the exact kind of wrong spy win for Rob to give up. And like just seemed to be pointing really in a very positive direction for Opie. But this is one of Opie's worst showings. Opie is still a fabulous player, but hopefully he's able to bounce back from this. But the difference between these two players is not this great. Opie just lost momentum and then just kind of didn't want to play out the rest of the set as hard. But I hope that they are able to bounce back strong for their next couple matches. And congratulations, of course, to Rob for almost certainly getting a berth into the next round.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know I said I predicted a convincing Rav win, but even then it was going to be, I would have said like, 10, maybe 11, 14-2, completely unexpected. And I think that early lead Rav got just kind of snowballed into worse games later on for OP.
Indeed, indeed. Well, the first couple sets of games I actually really enjoyed, but then I think the as it played out, Rob was just playing real standard, and Opie was just not able to match up on that one. So, again, congratulations to Rav, and did enjoy what we saw in the first couple of sets on Ballroom and Redwoods. Really curious how that plays out as Grash faces him next. And then we have a couple of casts in the next couple of days. I actually don't know what they are, though. Either Wrestler or Martini. Do you happen to know what we're going to be seeing tomorrow and Sunday?
Since I'm mainly organizing ones, I will just tell you all of them in advance. So tomorrow we'll have Mini Yorick versus Ada. So we'll get to see that. Rafaesh qualified from the Challengers bracket, taking on the previous year's SMC champion. And after that, on Sunday, we're going to have two matches put together. It's going to be firstly Miniarch versus Koopa, the number one SMC seed versus the previous SMC champion, and Grash versus Sauerkraut. Important game for both of them. And yeah, and that both the last two games are going to be on Sunday, so look out for that.
Yeah, and especially since the other part of Rov almost certainly moving on to the next round is that now there's a strong fight for second, right? So Opie and Sour, that match is of course going to be extremely important. Grash, depending on what their result versus Rov going to be, but let's just say that Rov is able to eke out a win there because Rov is coming in the favorite in general. There's going to be a real dogpile on for second place. And so very curious how that shakes out.
All right. Any last words from you, Wrestler, as we close this cast out?
Not really. Thanks everyone for watching. It has been, though unfortunately not entertaining for OP, it was entertaining at least for me, and hopefully the rest of the viewers. And as mentioned, we will see you tomorrow in about 16 hours. So catch us then. But in the meantime, fare thee well.